said, I don't know, almost 2 decades ago, if God's got a favorite songwriter, I think it's John Prine. Born in 1946 in Maywood, Illinois, 10 years older than I am. And when I got my first job as a lifeguard at Waddell Pool in Niles, Ohio, back in the old days, Dan Hogan was the senior guard, took me aside. This was in the cassette tape days. Handed me John Prine, and I've been listening to him ever since. And it's very, very sad. Every songwriter out there just worth listening to recognizes John Prine as an extraordinary. We'll come back with Angels from Montgomery in the next segment. That's his probably most famous ballad that's been covered again and again. But the effects of coronavirus are everywhere and everywhere terrible. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's good news. Look, we're almost at 1.5 million cases worldwide. We are over 81,000 dead. In the United States, we have 24-hour death toll of 1,850. But yet, there is good news. If you watch the president's conference, the vice president's conference, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, we are turning corners everywhere. We have new problems, but we also have new focuses. The African American community and the Native American community are particularly hard hit due to comorbidities. It was explained at length at the presser last night, which unfortunately some cable news stations inexplicably did not carry. Might have saved lives. But you've really got to double down on social distancing in close-knit families where any senior citizen has high blood pressure, has diabetes, is overweight. There are just enormous risks to them. So please do that. And we've bent the curve pretty much everywhere. And it's good news, and markets are showing that. But I must say, where we have not bent the curve is in cruelty. I have a new Washington Post column up this morning at the landing page at WashingtonPost.com, which I encourage you to send far and wide. Ignore the comments. There are 2,500 comments, which means that the crazies are out in force. It must have been a full moon last night. When it was posted, it's about, well, I'll read it to you. Quote, I want to give a special thanks to the president and to Jared Kushner, the official said. They told me yesterday they would get me 200,000 N95 masks to our public hospital system. Within 24 hours, they had delivered. The official? New York Mayor Bill de Blasio, D., Democrat, speaking last week. Now that we've established that anything is possible, let's reflect a bit on what this burst of nonpartisan goodwill might illumine for us. In 1996, when now Senator Lamar Alexander was a presidential candidate, he gave a stump speech that still lingers in the memory. It's rare for a stump speech, but it's memorable for a reason. Alexander liked to quote author Alex Haley, a fellow Tennessean and author of Roots, who liked to tell people, find the good and praise it. De Blasio was doing that vis-a-vis President Trump and Kushner. And Kushner, a senior White House advisor and Trump's son-in-law, has done much more than that. The Project Air Bridge that Kushner is helping direct has flown not just masks to New York, but also critically needed supplies to hot spots across the country. Kushner has overseen an effort to roll out new testing technologies to hospitals, physician offices, and drive-through sites, and led another to ramp up production of ventilators by more than 100,000 units in the next 100 days. My contact, Hugh Hewitt's contact with Kushner, is limited to a trio of phone calls when I opposed a Justice Reform Act he had championed. It was a first for me in more than 30 years of broadcasting. A key architect of a bill heard about my objections to the measure, tracked me down, and then called me back when he and his colleagues had addressed the issue that concerned me. That impressed me. So I was happy to hear that Kushner was part of the task force led by Vice President Pence, a task force similar to one I urged on the president in this post in the Washington Post in late February. Now, however, Kushner is taking a lot of heat because of a misunderstanding of the nature of the federal stockpile of key pandemic supplies. Amid the usual suspects to tear into Kushner, late-night host John Oliver, Vanity Fair, and the New York Times. Lyndon B. Johnson's famed complaint. If one morning I walked on top of the water across the Potomac River, the headline that afternoon would read, President Can't Swim. Well, that came to mind as slings and arrows fell on Kushner. It seems to me, Hugh Hewitt, that most of the president's critics on the left and in the media will have none of the good efforts of Jared Kushner or his colleagues because they fear the president may win re-election if he presides over a V-shaped economic recovery, which is inextricably tied to effective medical intervention and vaccine development. When this plague has passed, there will be time enough to hand out awards for who was asleep at the switch and who drove innovations and breakthroughs. But there is no need now to incessantly attack the people who are leading the response. Perhaps take the injunction from Haley to find the good and praise it, and tape it on the computer from which you work at home. There is little merit in condemning the well-intentioned and none in slamming the providers of help to the front lines of the battle. Shame should attach to those intent on politicizing this catastrophe. The public won't forget either those who helped or those who stood by and jeered. That's my column. I'd ask you to go to the Washington Post, scroll down, it's on the landing page, and send it everywhere. Find the good and praise it. Find the good and praise it. Coming up on this show, Admiral James Stavridis, Morgan Ortagus, who's the State Department spokesperson, Byron York, David Drucker, Congressman Mike Gallagher. We've got Matt Yerbick, who's the CEO of Aviation Technical Services, because the Congress is at work at Phase 4. We've got to make sure it helps out American workers first. Austin Goolsbee, former chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors under President Obama, joins me today. Michelle Reed, one of the young influencers who is just exploding on YouTube. Arthur Herman, the author of Freedom's Forge from the Hudson Institute. Jim Daly from Focus on the Family. Speaking of exploding on YouTube, more and more of you are following the show every morning on YouTube on my channel. Just go to youtube.com, type in Hewitt, and you'll be tied in. Let me tell you about Job Creators Network since I'm talking about Phase 4. The President, Mitch McConnell, Speaker Pelosi are working on replenishing the Small Business Fund. That means that JobCreatorsNetwork.com needs your help right now. Go join it. JobCreatorsNetwork.com is representing small businesses in a way that no one else is inside the Beltway. You, if you're a small business person, need to belong to JobCreatorsNetwork.com. Put your stories and ideas out there. Also want to tell you, check the markets overnight, brought to you by Birch Gold. Now, Birch Gold, if you want to learn about it, you text my name, Hugh, to 474747. And diversify. Gold is at $1,687. I started telling you to diversify when it was at $1,400. And I'm going to keep telling you to diversify because I think worldwide, even as America emerges, and some stocks do very, very well in the United States, like Amazon, which I own. I own all mutual funds in Amazon. That's it. I do one stock at a time so I know what I'm doing and can follow it. But I bought gold last year. And I think you need to diversify, especially if you have an asset that increased in value over the last 2 months of craziness. That asset in your retirement portfolio probably should diversify at least a portion of it in a gold or silver physically backed IRA, which is what Birch Gold does. So just text my name, Hugh, to 474747. And that is the best thing to do. Birch Gold, or you can go to HughGold.com as well, HughGold.com. But just text my name, Hugh, H-U-G-H, to 474747. I told you gold is at 1687. Worldwide, the news is mixed. In Japan, which is a good sign, the market is closed up 2% again. But in Hong Kong, it's down because I think they've got a second wave in China and people are beginning to understand China lies. Not necessarily the South China Morning News, but China generally. England and Germany down a little bit this morning. Light crude, though, is up 3%. That's good. Maybe the oil war is done. Maybe we can get back to business in the oil patch and the sectors around. Halliburton is up 5%. I mean, there are good news everywhere. The 10-year Treasury's at 0.75%, easing back up to 1%. I think bonds are on the table. There's a lot on that package. Don't forget as well, No Safe Spaces starring Dennis Prager and Adam Carolla will make you laugh and make you cry. If you've got another long day at home ahead of you, go to nosafespaces.com. Use the code SALE25, get 25% off SALE25, and enjoy some Dennis and some Adam. Good way to get through this. Come right back. It's the Hugh Hewitt Show.